Chaos in markets, chaos on the news. What does it mean for humanity? And what does it mean for crypto? I don't believe in coincidences. I don't. Do you realize that the unemployment figures, the jobs numbers were revised down 911,000 5 days before the anniversary of 9/11? Conveniently, the day before the anniversary of 9/11, in an environment where you have social disorder in Europe, you have culture war deluxe as a distraction up until now in the United States. And then on September 10th, you have the events we had today, which I believe we can talk about carefully up at a school in the Pacific Northwest. If you have not heard, I guess you could call it a conservative influencer is no longer with us. Now, this is pure and simple chaos. It's kind of right out of the Ray Dalio playbook in a way. I had a tough time getting it together for this stream because I saw a little montage on Zero Hedge of this individual with his young daughter with America the Beautiful playing over the images and the video. You know, that's pretty tough to look at. And I would imagine people are online searching for content and meaning. And I am all too happy to give you both. We will discuss the 10 altcoins for chaos. I got some big caps, some common sense. We're going to also talk real world assets. Looks like all these lenders that me and Tobie have been telling you about across all of our research platforms are up double digits today. We got a problem out there with the banks. We got real world asset announcements coming out. This bottom up crypto rally, this push against the system continues, accelerates. And when you look at what is on the tape today, obviously, you have to be empathetic. But you also have to ask yourself, am I going to buy into whatever narrative they're going to sell us off these unfortunate events? In other words, if they're trying to make you afraid, if they're trying to make you upset, it's a distraction. Even if it's obvious and unfortunate, it's a distraction. Now, what are they distracting you from? Okay, well, I don't think we have the answer to that today. You could have geopolitical events. You could have problems with banks or, you know, these powers that be that have wanted us at each other's throats for, I don't know, at least 10 years. The events are accelerating because someone's accelerating it, or it's accelerating because we're inside the eclipse window. And I said there was going to be volatility. And of course, because I'm in my crypto bubble looking at crypto all day, I assumed the volatility would be in markets, and it turns out it's in society. Meanwhile, crypto continues to go higher because, as I always say with this kind of stuff, you look at it and you go, interesting system we have here, right? Somebody from 200 yards away figured out how to get right here. That's professional. This is the system that we're living in. And we've got an entire different parallel system. Again, you know, you're staying tuned for, you know, examples of how this group, the Patreon group, the YouTube group, the members, how we look at markets and how we look at chaos, because undoubtedly people are out there trying to figure out, why is the market up? Why is this happening? I feel strongly about it. And then I think, in a way, you may have to channel those emotions into rebelling against all these awful things that you see on television. I don't know if the answer to what happened today is to not like your fellow man. Now, if you want to get into the details, I think the original thought process will be for the right to blame the left. I think it's also possible that the right could blame the far right, depending on who they pick up. Okay, this guy had certain views and was taking heat from the far right, a lot of heat, right? The guy who was dishing out the heat was going mega viral. Interesting that someone that person was criticizing is now deceased, and anybody who thinks like him will probably be able to rally in terms of public opinion. Fascinating, as Mr. Spock would say. I don't know about you, but I don't really believe in coincidences. I don't believe 911,000 jobs a week before 9/11, and you've got the flag waving and an important ally of the administration deceased the day before something like the anniversary of 9/11, which, is becoming lesser and lesser in the minds of the people. Not anymore. You don't know who they're going to blame this on. Okay. This subway attack issue, has now become a worldwide phenomenon. I'm Ukrainian, so my heart obviously goes out to the Ukrainian girl. I'm not a big fan of bad guys, but I'm also not a big fan of sovereigns trying to manipulate me. So with all of that said, I don't believe in coincidences. I think real world assets are up because when people figure out what's really going on in the world, they're going to want alternatives to banks. I think security tokens, there's some news out today about Ethereum, but I just think there are certain aspects of the market. Like if you look, we'll go through this. Avalanche, Clearpool, Token, Ondo, right? And Goldfinch. Some of the tokens that Tobie and I have been pounding the table on for weeks, if not months. All of a sudden, they're up double digits today, and no one seems to be noticing. Matter of fact, there have been components of altcoins. There is you're going to laugh. There has been a baby alt season going on for like 3 or 4 days. Not huge, right? Polkadot woke up, Near woke up, Avalanche woke up, and each wake up in each one of these buckets, as Tobie would call it, gets incrementally bigger each day that goes on. Now, you're not seeing it at the top of the market with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. XRP stuck at $3. And it's starting to feel like, and we've discussed this, that the cryptos that people own, right? The treasury companies, retail's got XRP, institutions now have a lot of Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's funny how those things are seemingly stuck, although that could end. While the altcoin market, which is probably underowned and people are short, continues to just spike. And I think this is a huge telltale sign, right? I mean, I sometimes say you're living the reasons that they wrote the Bitcoin white paper. I think you're now living the reasons why, a guy like Dalio should go out and autograph your copy of the Bitcoin Standard. Because when you have this kind of like social disorder, this could be a very powerful catalyst for crypto. And I don't mind telling you. I mean, she minds when I tell people these things on free shows. But, Tobie looked at me, I think it's like 2 weeks ago. And I'm doing my macro head, blah, 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 about the UK and about Japan and all this stuff. She's like, yeah, that's not going to be it. That's not going to be the catalyst. If there's a negative catalyst for crypto, it's social disorder. She didn't use that exact term, but when I translated it, she said social disorder. And, social disorder, is accelerating. Because like I said, you got 9/11 tomorrow. This individual had certain political views. They were pretty strong ones. They were criticized by the far left and the far right. The administration's been taking it on the chin lately. And you can bet that they're going to get on the offensive now. I mean, you think the orange man's going to sit around and take this lane down? You're going to have the army on the streets wherever they'll let them put the army on the streets. I don't want the army on the streets. I want crypto, which is why we're going to go over top 10 altcoins for chaos. Some of the small cap ideas I like are a little edgy, but some of it is just like an example of how we do things, a way to organize yourself. Because I think that's what you need to do. This is what I've been talking about for like 2 weeks. We've been massively publishing into Patreon and the YouTube member area. I mean, we went over 6 pages of reports today inside as like a discussion format. So I mean, you could go to work and turn on our podcast and absorb all this knowledge of the HODL portfolio and some hot tactical trading ideas that we have. And this is why we're doing it. Right? Because you're going to wake up one day and be like, wow, I need to do something different. I don't think it's an example. I don't think it's an accident that the video of what happened to this guy, I don't know. It was so graphic. In order to get that kind of a shot, you had to be a very serious person. Very serious person. So we're going to be very serious, people, because what happened to them in a metaphorical sense can't happen to us. Cannot let the powers that be take our minds, take our hearts, take our souls, and twist them. We got to say, you know what? We're going to get our McAfee on. Today, you get your McAfee on. You ask yourself, culture wars, distractions, people becoming deceased in public. One word, crypto. I borrowed the classic YouTube thumbnail. I can't stay quiet. Like the far left can open its mouth and get sharply criticized or ignored. The far right, although I'm sure that's going to be quite an audience, they can open their mouth and get criticized. In my opinion, no one is going to get criticized for talking about crypto, human independence, and the pursuit of happiness. Because whatever is going on now is man against man, and that is not how the world is supposed to be. And the beautiful thing about crypto is that you've got an avenue to get there, and you've got a solar eclipse coming up at the end of the month that can really jack this thing, In other words, as it stands now, it feels like they're going to blow out the shorts. This feels like a classic, you have like altcoin spring going on, and then you're going to go get the shorts in the bigger coins. You're going to go get the hedges. So everybody may be like, hey, yeah, I'm looking for a dip. Yeah, the dip was the last 3 days. And then if you get some sort of short covering explosion, you might see some kind of a dip after that. But it feels like people got short and they're experiencing regret. And they're like, oh, no, we better cover before the how to manage chaos trade comes to get our positions. If you're bearish crypto, you're bearish humanity. If you're bearish humanity, you're going to get squeezed. Because the only way humanity is ever going to push back against whatever is going on here, regardless of your ideology, regardless of what you think about happened today, regardless, there's only one way out. And it's a great way out. It's crypto. And here's what's even funnier. The stock market knows it. The stock market, people are like, oh my God, I've got to allocate to crypto. The stocks are moving in 10 to 15% increments. And in crypto, we're sitting around like, wow, a flock of them flew over that time. Well, now obviously there are events on the American landscape that should have your attention, because some of these examples have been going on in Europe for quite a long time, to the point where it's become easy to ignore the truth. I'm looking at the title on the thumbnail. It says the truth about the altcoin parabolic. The truth. What is the truth about the altcoin parabolic? Altcoins are an alternative system. They get a bad name. It's like different technology, different banking. I mean, the lenders at Clearpool, these are lenders, right? This is not exotic. It's simply a crypto-based alternative to whatever is out there now. It's tokenized equities. It's lending on the blockchain. It isn't that complicated. Really, it's not. And the case for crypto is not complicated. And the issue with it is that you have to be persistent enough to keep making it. Because as I've been saying, you're going to wake up and there's going to be a reason. And guess what? There's a reason. I think the only reason the crypto market is not massively higher is because people are still processing the shock of what they're seeing on the tape today. I mean, I was like, the Eagle King, we were getting ready. Eagle King calls me up. He's like, bro, are you seeing this? And I mean, like just the 4 or 5 things that I looked at, I was like, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? This guy had a family. He had little kids. His wife was tweeting biblical verses before this happened. You're never getting me off 2 things. One, the stuff that Tobie says about how you need crypto for your future. Never getting me off. I'm never getting off that. The next thing you're never getting me off on is McAfee, right? The Declaration of Cryptocurrency Independence. They refuse to buy the antivirus meme coin. Good, right? It just means it's going to go materially higher once people start figuring this out. Is this how you want to live your life? Is it? Right? In other words, people are becoming very aware of the forces that shape whatever goes out there on social media. I mean, it goes from, the left of the left, the right of the right, Elon and engagement farming on Twitter. You know what? I believe absolutely none of it. None of it. I mean, yeah, there are facts in there, but they're the facts and the emotions and the tweets that they want you to see. You know what I want to give them? I want to give them 150 Bitcoin. Nothing speaks louder. Like, you're upset about what happened today? Good. It's the green button. The events aren't good, but you can channel whatever it is you feel into the green button. And that's not even half of the market update. All right, so U.S. Labor Department revised jobs down 911,000. This tweet was what? September 9th, 1.5 million views on the tweet. Waiting for somebody to figure that out. It's unbelievable. Somebody saying September 2025 is when everything changed. No, actually, everything changed a long time ago. September 2025 might be the year, might be the month where people wake up and go, I'm not doing this anymore. Everyone acted like, oh my God, this is going to change everything. Bro, everything has already changed. It started with your bill at Costco. And this is just like the ripple effect out of, frankly, a debt and a currency crisis. Hate to say it. Big Dalio critic, right? Don't really like his view of the world, and I definitely don't like how he likes to trade it. But the case for crypto is being made in front of your eyes. I'm looking at a screenshot of the little blonde lady and this gentleman that was, that was harmed in the Pacific Northwest. This has been going on for a long time. It's just now we're going to start acting on it. You know how I always say it doesn't matter until it does? Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It matters now. It matters. Nobody's ignoring this anymore. No more short selling. No more, I sold my Bitcoin to Michael Saylor. Now I have to push it down to get it back. Yeah, good luck with that. I'm sitting here looking at Arkham. BlackRock just bought $169 million worth of Bitcoin. I mean, what? You don't think these guys have orders on their desk? You don't think they have people sitting there lurking? Okay, well, guess what? These people in futures exchange signal language, they're going to go to the market. That's a market order, right? Buy me 100 at the market. They're going at the market now. They're doing it in real world assets. They're doing it in Avalanche. You know, that C-chain thing that they got going on there for security tokens. Yeah. Hello. You know, and again, that's just the finance part. Never mind the tech part. Never mind the social media part. Never mind the Web3 part. Web3 is dead. Web3's been dead for 9 months until everyone wakes up and goes, wow, you know, maybe we need something different. Yeah, you think? Right? We got, you know, we got stuff going on in Eastern Europe. You know, they're flying over Poland. They're not flying over Poland. I'm like, wow, really? God, you guys are doing such a great job running the world, making everybody sit around wondering, you know, when some giant world conflict is going to occur. The world conflict is already occurring. You're already downrange of, I don't know, let's call them anti-human forces. I don't know if I'm going to get away with that, but there's people out there that don't like you. And your shield is cryptocurrency. That's your shield. Don't say I'm a victim. Don't say, you know, they don't like me. If anybody could say they don't like me, it's me. Because they definitely don't like me. We know that. They don't like me. I don't care. Right? I can sit around and cry about it, or I can get on this thing and get as close to the microphone as I can and then talk as if the microphone isn't even there. This is worth sharing. Crypto exchange Binance cuts fees as trading volumes remain abysmal. So, as the world melts around you, as the case for crypto gets stronger every day, no one is interested. No one is interested. No one. I had a guy call me yesterday. A guy I respect. He's like, dude, how are you getting the channel growth that you're getting? Like, he's talking to a whole bunch of YouTubers. No one's interested. You know, like, occasionally the XRP crowd comes to visit me when I got something to say about XRP as a form of money. You know, Wendy O's got a pretty good grip on the XRP crowd. They can't grow their followings. Why? Because no one's interested. No one is interested. And when does the market go up the most? When no one's interested. When the Orange Man issued its meme coin and crypto was at a fever pitch, it was a top, which was a shame because I was really enjoying all that. Okay, it's still the same market it was in January. The energy has temporarily changed. The energy that drove Bitcoin higher, the energy that drove antivirus higher, the energy that just drove ETH higher, that energy doesn't go away. It doesn't. Like all these characters that were dumping the Ethereum ETF, 2 or 3 days ago. Stupid. The energy to push crypto markets higher exists, and it showed itself twice. It showed itself at the end of each of the last 2 years at the maximum point of despair, depression, and boredom. Again, I've already told my story about last year where it looked like it was the end of all of crypto 2 weeks before the election, maybe even 3 to 4 days before the election. It looked like it was over. It always looks like it's over right before somebody goes, you know what? Maybe this whole thing is totally underpriced. And Tobie, the YouTube member podcast, I mean, for God's sakes, stick a credit card and hit the join button and just listen to what she had to say. We cover a HODL portfolio. By the way, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary. If you want to hear something very positive and happy, some of our YouTube members are going to get the special Spartan emoji for being around with us for a year. I mean, she picked a lot of coins that went up anywhere from 70 to 300% as like a plain Jane cocktail party, talking to the normies about crypto. Her first portfolio did very well. And the stuff that went down, she's like, yeah, I just want to buy more. Just want to buy more. Jupiter's down. Good. STX is down. Good. Good. More for us. They're sleeping on this market, and that's not a good idea. It's not. Okay. Franklin Templeton and Binance are getting together. Franklin Templeton was early in crypto in terms of adopting it as in like a stodgy mutual fund house. And they've probably gone as far as they can, and they've got to make an alliance, which is next, right? First you had treasury companies, then you have IPOs. And then as all that excitement happens, people have to start making announcements. And I've said this, and the reason maybe that there are no announcements is because they've got to make alliances in order to get something going. They can't do it themselves, which is, again, why Ripple and XRP, I mean, the day somebody calls up Ripple and XRP and wants to make an alliance or do a deal or whatever, oh my God. You know, I mean, they have done nothing but sell XRP below $3. And I don't even understand that, especially, like I said, when you have Binance and Franklin Templeton coming together. I mean, how long is it before XRP is involved in something like this if they're not trying to proactively create it to begin with? Because they should be. Like, they're probably 1 to 2 deals away from being able to get public. You imagine, you know, these treasury companies, all these crypto firms, they're going public in a dead crypto market. I mean, now we're starting to have spring, ironically, thanks to them. I never thought I would say that. And I have been a big fan of crypto stocks. They're actually getting this going. So Franklin Templeton and Binance in a normal day, like 2-3 days ago, it's like, okay, whatever. But now with this thing sporting what I would call green shoots, and you got a world where you got to ask yourself, like, what is the solution to this? It's going to take people a couple of days maybe to process this, and then they're going to go, oh, man, I'm not doing this anymore. Like Metaplanet, just indiscriminately borrowing money to buy. Like in Japan, like what exactly do you have to lose by changing your currency in Japan, in the UK, even over here? What have you got to lose? Okay, well, crypto could go up a lot and then go down a lot. That's possible. That's happened before. But you can manage that with hedging and active portfolio management. Meanwhile, you're outside the system. You're outside the dollar, right? And this, again, has not been traded either. Is that both the right and the left want a seat at the crypto table? This crypto bro vote is so big and so pivotal. Both sides want it. Both sides know in a tight race, they need it. I don't think a market structure bill and a strategic crypto reserve, because, again, you know, the orange man and his agenda, you know, unfortunately, these events are going to allow him to go on the offense. You know, he's had egg on his face about a couple of different things. The Middle East optics are horrendous. Both parties in Eastern Europe laughed in his face. Honestly, he wanted the Nobel Peace Prize, and they escalated. It's not been going his way. He's not feeling well. That's all over the tape. So if there was ever a time to wave the flag, get the American-made cryptos going, get the crypto vote enthusiastic, it would be now. Because they got a rally cry now. You know, regardless of whether or not you buy into that fully, the things that got him elected, he can now return back to. And I can't believe that's not going to include crypto. His crypto czar was on the tape today. His kids are making money in this hand over fist to the point that it's cringe. What happens if they do a hard pivot trying to get a crypto bill done? Meanwhile, back at the Fed ranch, again, the laughability of all this, you know, the inflation, the unemployment, I don't know. It feels like, and I talked to a guy today, and I don't know that we have a firm handle on this, but for us old Wall Street types, something doesn't feel right. You know what I'm saying? Like some of this social disorder stuff, the lending into DeFi coins rallying, Bitcoin can't go down. Powell's got egg all over his face. Like Powell is backed into a corner. And that's not even really the issue. Powell's going to have to admit that he screwed up. Right. And then once the Fed admits that they screwed up, what else happens? Because that is a question you need to be asking yourself. What's next? I get, it's been, hey, what's next for a week, 2 weeks? This thing in Charlottesville happened in August. Then it became a fever pitch culture war item 4 days ago, right? With people offering to paint murals of this individual, the poor woman who got hurt, all over the United States. I'm like, it gets weirder and weirder, and it doesn't feel like it's going to end. And it does feel like this can move over possibly into finance. Like there's a finance shoe that could drop. And this is not unheard of, right? This happened. It happened in a down market. You had geopolitical events, you had accounting problems. There's obviously huge structural problems with Western economies. We've been in a recession for over a year, clearly. Does that have any consequences anywhere else? Are we going to stop using our imagination now? I was suggesting using your imagination 3 days ago, and frankly, I just got laughed at. That's what it feels like. I mean, some of the stuff I did on these themes is some of the lowest viewed stuff yet, at least in recent times. The Justice for Charlie meme coin is out. You see what I'm saying? They're going to crank up the emotion, and you may have to take a step back and go, okay, what else is out there? It's an old Wall Street saying, man, when there's one roach, there's a million. When there's one problem, there's more than one problem. And even if there isn't, the constructive solution is crypto. Now, some of these headlines are starting to get real world assets going. Kraken expanding tokenized equities. There's an ETH proposal or technological upgrade that's going to make all of this much easier, right? PPI was lower than anyone thought. Again, putting Powell in kind of a bind. I mean, it's a weird world when Pump.fun has more credibility than the Federal Reserve. Pump.fun token up double digits today, following Binance listing. Pump.fun has more credibility than the Federal Reserve Bank. Write that down and look at your screen and ask yourself, what do you want to do? I got a new rally cry. I came up with it yesterday. Tobie talked about it in a way more eloquent way. You want to know what the best idea in the market is? Your idea. We got research. We're going to go through kind of a sample thing today about how we think. The best idea is your idea. But in order to have an idea, you got to have an imagination, and you got to see the world for what it is, not for what they want you to see. Not for what they want you to see, right? Not for what they want you to see. Okay. Here's the Ethereum news, which I think is incredibly relevant. Okay. New Ethereum standard aims to set the baseline for real-world asset tokenization. Okay. Solving the industry fragmentation problem. Folks, they go to put the whole world on chain. The reason that they want the whole legacy world on chain is because they know everybody is going to wind up in Bitcoin and crypto. And in order not to get disrupted, their legacy products are going to have to be in the same wallet as the crypto. If you say, I got to have a crypto account or I got to have a legacy account, what do you think Gen Z is going to do? You think Gen Z is going to want to go in and go, oh, wow, I can't wait to go to Charles Schwab and talk to some guy in polyester khakis and a collared shirt to tell me that I need to buy the S&P. I mean, the S&P might not be a bad idea, or at least robotics trades are not going to be a bad idea. But can you imagine what this looks like when we start introducing robots, which is next year, by the way? It is. It's next year. Right. Next year is the golden age, the 250th anniversary of America. And we discussed, Tobie was like, yep, not eeny, meeny, like this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one on the American-made crypto banter bubbles. If you want to get all straightened out for this market in an hour, there's a join button at the bottom of the chat. Maybe you should take a shot. And Patreon is beyond loaded. Patreon has 6th Street Crypto with the HODL portfolio update. And they have something in the platinum area called picks within the picks, meaning the hot new stuff that you haven't seen before from us. We got Pyth. We got all of this stuff on real world assets. I don't mind telling you, we're absolutely nailing this thing, and we're publishing like freaks when no one is interested. No one. No one. Absolutely no one. Let's go. For everyone who stayed around, let's go to the example of our thought process. So this comes out of our GAN model. So this is our Eclipse report. 10 altcoins that could benefit from disorder. Top 3 picks. Okay, I understand it's not earth-shattering, but this is how we do things now. We're trying to narrow it down to like 2 or 3 coins at a time. Bitcoin, Chainlink for that cross-chain flavor, and privacy. Tobie said something about privacy this morning. It gave me goosebumps for like a 2026 prediction. Full on clairvoyant, see the future kind of stuff. I'm not opposed to Monero being in like the top 3 for this type of report. Not opposed to it at all. You're going to need privacy. An antivirus at a 3 million market cap is an absolute joke. They were selling it below 3 million 3 days ago. Why? I don't know. It's a good reminder of what's really going on in the world today. Top 10 coins for chaos. Okay. It says Ethereum for DeFi Foundation. It calls Bitcoin digital insurance. This is not something you've heard yet. You've heard Michael Saylor talk about Bitcoin sucking all the capital out of legacy, which he's probably in a mood to promote after getting snubbed from the S&P. Digital insurance. Insurance against what? All the nonsense that's going on. Wait until you hear Powell up at the podium after this Fed meeting. Doesn't matter what he does. I want to see him step up to the podium and firmly cement himself as, I don't know, a not so smart person. You know, it wants to own Monero and Zcash. Monero is better than Zcash for privacy. You can get Monero on Kraken. I've been a long-time Zcash supporter, and I'm certainly not going to stop now. Polkadot bridges fragmented systems. Polkadot got this started. It was Polkadot, it was Near, and then it was Avalanche. And each one of these rallies gets bigger. Okay. Avalanche, fast execution. Avalanche was originally built for speed, along with Phantom, which is now Sonic. Everybody wants 2021 back. 2021 is actually back. The green shoots are there. It's happening. People are ignoring it. It's okay, which is fine because people didn't see it coming then. And I don't think they're seeing it coming now at all. At all. All it takes is for somebody to get on the tape and say something similar to what I'm saying now, except they'll have 1 million followers or they'll have some big platform, and then the market will just go. Or maybe no one has to say anything and people will just figure it out and the shorts will get torched. SUI. No one's talking about SUI, so let's talk about SUI. Nobody thinks Chainlink can go up anymore. I think Chainlink's going to 100. Okay, Ondo, real world assets. I mean, this was like the most hyped thing anyone ever saw multiple times during this whole bull market or this whole whatever you have. And Ondo keeps going up and just fading away. Everyone's acting like it's not going to happen. It's going to happen. And ironically, the lenders are up more than Ondo today. Okay, and then there's Flux. decentralized computing. Outside the box picks. Small caps can and do go to zero, so be careful. Render for outside the box. Mythos for gaming. Possible tie to Polkadot and your teeny weeny coin. Velvet, a DeFi aggregator. Going to the websites. Again, this is kind of how we do things. So if you like this, you're going to, you're really going to like Patreon Platinum. So here's the Velvet website. Again, small caps can and do go to zero. You need to be aware of that. This is an opinion show, not investment advice. Mythos, the future of gaming, ensuring ownership of in-game assets on the Polkadot network. What is Polkadot? We did a Polkadot deep dive. And of course, there's Render, which everyone has forgotten about. Everyone just like, I don't know. Everyone's just like, yeah, I'm not interested. Okay. It's all right. And you're not interested until it really starts moving. And the thing that's funny about coins like Render is that there's been sort of a rally lately, but it's almost like no one notices. No one notices, right? Because every time it goes up, they sell it. Right? In other words, bag holders get out. This is a classic example of what I've been talking about for 2 days. Okay? You have a breakout. You have a wick higher. All the people that had to live through all this awful nonsense, this false breakdown out of this triangle, terrible, right? It just looked horrible. Meanwhile, money flow's going green again. What do you know? Money's coming into this, and LuxAlgo just put a support shelf right underneath it. There's a lot of coins that look like this. We discussed, the GAN model, our friends, and guess who, Chicken Boo? We're all over this right before the government made the announcement. Then it comes back down to support. It's not a bull market until you can buy a dip and make money. If you look at Avalanche weekly, the equilibrium zone in Avalanche is at 37 on a weekly chart. It's currently at 29. And interestingly enough, they have done nothing but sell this coin for a year. Nothing but sell. I mean, money flow never even really came in on the spikes. They just dumped it like it doesn't matter anymore. I actually think it does matter. I mean, how are you going to run the internet? You're going to run the internet on one layer one? Like what happens when AI agents start issuing ICOs, right? What happens when ICOs start happening along with IPOs? So it's amazing. Like the number of new projects being released seems too small to me. Way too small, in fact. Has anyone thought about this? Like what happens if we have an ICO season? We have an IPO season. Why can't we have an ICO season? Where new projects, new meme coins, new stuff comes out. People have lost all imagination. They're not getting alt season, so they're angry and they're depressed. And I completely understand that. I'm not saying that you're wrong in feeling bad. But what happens is when people feel bad, they start to get myopic, they start to get skeptical, and they lose their ability to say, hey, what happens if this thing goes totally crazy? If you have, the 4 big coins screaming. I mean, Tobie says every single week, you want something for free? I'll give you something for free. Tobie says every single week, buy the baby caps. Now, naturally, we pick the baby caps on the air every week. Buy the small coins. Buy the speculative items. Buy the new stuff. So she loves the large cap stuff that you build the new future on. And she thinks there's a whole range of items at the bottom of the market. I mean, recently she's been talking about Wild for a while. Wild had like a 20% rally. I don't know what it's doing today, but some of these things are like starting to like pop off because the energy that drove them higher to begin with hasn't gone away. Like, I mean, just look at a 4-hour chart of Bitcoin. You know, this doesn't have to be rocket science. I mean, first everyone was like, oh my God, it's going to 120 or it's going to 130 or 150. And then they just dropped it. Well, this energy that took Bitcoin up, that energy is still floating around. Like everyone looks at the chart and goes, oh, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. If you look at the chart, as you can see, nothing is happening. Okay, well, something is happening because when it goes up, it goes straight up. Something is happening. Okay, Brandon is now a VIP member. Sir, welcome. Welcome to the show. So Wolf Riot Star says, I'm VIP. Okay, do I need Patreon Platinum as well? Okay, well, you know, we do make, if you like video, okay, we do a lot of discussing some of the reports or some of the highlights of the reports on the podcast, which is, and I also have videos, small, 12-minute videos inside the YouTube area. Patreon Platinum is research, like PDF documents. And it's also in the Patreon middle tier as well, right? But Patreon Platinum is research, like the research company I used to work for. It's our version using the GAN model and Tobie, and we've been programming this thing and working with this thing and banging on it and banging on it and banging on it. And if you just like the video versions, we make recorded videos and we do the podcast. So if you want to read stuff on an iPad, it's Platinum. If you like podcasts and you want to listen, it's preferred medium. And obviously, if you see what goes on in the world, we cannot be all in one place. I have seen influencers get there, randomly. I mean, the stories that I hear about certain platforms getting shut off, these things can happen. So we're in two different places. So it's not the same material across all platforms. It's different. It's a different style and it's different material. Patreon Platinum is more advanced, more nuanced. We take care of those customers. Let's put it that way. But we also take care of you guys on video. Again, you are going to find Tobie and the type of information that we have from our models together on a podcast and videos. You know where you're going to get that? Nowhere. Which is why our channel, even though it's humble, has some growth and others are struggling. That's why. So hopefully that covers that question. I appreciate the opportunity to explain our product offering some way other than the standard commercial that I have to do. Okay, Solana. 4-hour chart. It's amazing how we're getting bearish on the market with Solana moving from the bottom left to the top right. What is negative about this? I mean, is it stretched out? Well, yeah, but it was suppressed, right? I mean, if you look at Sol versus ETH, which we do occasionally because we're doing kind of a TA heavy show today. I mean, Sol versus ETH is down here. I mean, what? You're going to have ETH as the future of finance and you're not going to have stable coins and DPIN running on Solana? Are you kidding? I mean, you have Kyle Samani, you have these guys lining up as fast as they can to be in line for Sol treasury companies. Okay, Gian is asking for, I can just look, like I flash looked at the chat and I feel like altcoin overtime is about to kick off. Pancakes and Peanut Butter is here. Welcome. Nikki B says render to 35. I will be welcoming everybody to the show. Okay. Doge could bring retail back in if it gets to $1. Yes. But it's amazing. It's amazing how they wanted to buy Doge. Okay. They wanted to buy Doge. but they didn't want to buy the rest of the market. The DOGE ETF was the talk of the town. By the way, I'm not going to say too much about it, but if you like Ski Mask Dog, you better watch today's podcast. And if you're not a member, you might want to check it out. I'm not saying. You might want to check it out. Okay. So, Ski Mask Dog. I'm not sure I got the right symbol for this. Let me get to the thing. You better watch out. I think I would put Ski Mask Dog, my way of saying it, because, you know, my way of saying it is anything where people are frustrated, anywhere where people were like giving up. I mean, I remember this Ski Mask Dog coin was like $250 million at the top. I don't think I've looked at the chart in a while. I pulled it up on another service and I pulled it up again and I'm like, is this really this dead? I mean, this just looks like, I mean, if this is not the bigger the base, the higher in the space, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. I mean, this chart assumes that the crypto market can never get hot again, ever. That's the message of this chart. I used to say this all the time back in the day. Technical analysis is about explaining the nature of price action. What is the nature of the price action? Right? Raydium for our members. By the way, members get priorities on comments. You can get yourself an emoji for $4, and you can get me, the GAN model, and Tobie for $49. When you look at what everyone else charges, that seems cheap to me. Raydium. Like, how is Raydium, like the whole market looks like this, by the way. It's like this like upward sloping accumulation channel. I know the market's been in a range for so long. You know, the energy that created this and speed, magnitude, and direction, like what created this down move, the vertical nature of this, when it turns around and goes up, it can go back up the exact same way. And, you know, I sometimes I feel like when I put something on YouTube or Twitter that, you know, everyone goes and finds it, but it's pretty clear that Jesse Moore's like accumulation cone, which used to be something like really esoteric and edgy. I mean, if you look at Raydium, if you look at basically all of these cryptos, you either have the bigger the base, the higher in the space. You have cup and handle in Solana, or you have accumulation cones literally everywhere. Jito. I mean, our GAN model has been picking liquid staking coins. Okay. Wow, it's really coming in now. Okay, this is JTO. This is how we do TA for, this is how Tobie does TA. She looks at it and goes, yeah, kind of dead, huh? It's like, she calls it suppressed. Solana liquid staking. No one's going to want liquid staking in Solana. Nobody. No. Nah. No. Market's asleep. It's asleep. Right? And there are so many reasons for it to wake up. WIF, I was talking about the other day. We've come full circle. You know, normally guys like me are like, oh, you know, be careful about the leverage. Everyone's like, when it's going up, everyone's like, oh, God, I want leverage. Okay. Well, you know, when you get leverage when no one cares. This is WIF, which I just think of these things as leverage Solana. I mean, it's not even at equilibrium yet. No one is interested. Money flow is starting to come in. I mean, WIF could go back to $1.30. Pump.fun is moving. Bonk moved. No one has touched any of these coins. And I don't know. I think the counter argument is, you know, if they don't want the big meme coins, maybe they're going to want the new small ones, right? And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but you might have to go back into the meme coin trenches, because this cycle could get started with memes. Something's going to get this started, right? Nobody was looking for Polkadot. Nobody was looking for real world assets. And I don't think anyone's looking for memes. I think the whole thing looks kind of dead to me. What happens if, like I said, what is going to wake up next? Something is going to wake up next, because that's the way it's been. The trend is your friend, right? What's next? I think if you're looking for a meme coin, I think if you went to the YouTube member podcast, a lot of readers would be very happy to see who won Meme Coin Showdown. Right? Who won Meme Coin Showdown? We actually went back and we did some throwback work where, Tobie would, use her cards to talk about crypto. And then I realized she didn't need the cards. And then after listening to the market update and watching videos, I don't know, she taught herself crypto. I would love to take a whole bunch of credit, but I don't know. She's just that smart. Okay. Welcoming who's here. Bull Runner. What's up, dude? What's up? Vegetable Poop. Welcome. Guess Who Chicken Boo. Hello. Right. Welcoming Brandon. Wrong again. Crypto Hoops. Shelly Farmer Allen. I'm a Patreon Platinum member. So worth it. Amazing. Shelly, we appreciate you. Shelly likes that hard copy action, likes those PDFs. I mean, everyone says get a plan. Everyone says do your own research. Everyone says study. What is do your own research? Well, I don't know. How about you get a PDF report, print it out, look at what the model is spitting out, and see if any of the coins fit your portfolio. I mean, again, and we are getting narrower and narrower. I mean, we are like saying, okay, we gave people some lists today, but we want very specific stuff for people. Like, I mean, we're and I'm taking it. I'm going to start boiling it down. We're going to start having deep dive videos. I've already got a Polkadot deep dive here, where we talk about coins in the Polkadot ecosystem and the 2 or 3 we like. This is the HODL portfolio update. You click on the collections button for Platinum. This one is also in the VIP area. This is the 6th Street Crypto podcast, right? So, this is, so you get your little podcast, you get your report and all kinds of other stuff with it. It's catchy. You'll like it. Okay. Sam Strong, a new name. Welcome. Gian, pancakes and peanut butter. What is wrong with people? Dude, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with people, but when it comes to being free, waking up can be a really good idea. It can be, right? I'm not Bruce or Cliff. Bull Runner is here. Big Rich in the house. Yeah. Rest in peace, man. Papalo 69 wants in. Suncatcher Hawaii. Right? It's unreal. Guess Who Chicken Boo hitting that McAfee emoji. Zen Trader 77, T-Bone, the original crypto stock investor. Bill Rockwell likes XRP, XLM, HBAR, and Cardano. Dude, listen. These American-made cryptos, I was talking about this morning. Dude, we are 3 months away from the 250th anniversary of America, and all of the American-made cryptos trade like they're just not there. Just not there, right? Been holding virtuals for a long time. Time to rotate into other AI plays. Okay. Well, here's what I can tell you Tobie said about virtuals in the podcast, right? I think that, given that Shelly is a major customer, I have no problem answering this. She actually wanted to stick with virtuals. That's what she said, right? She says, if you're going into AI, She says, you know, AI and DeFi might be overcrowded in the short term. And I know she tells people about Fetch, and I know she thinks, you know, virtuals can live again. So I'm going to defer to the Grandmaster on virtuals. My angle on virtuals is everything that's on base has to go up to Coinbase because of the Gemini IPO. Like if I was running Gemini, I would get every single base coin I could get up to Gemini. I would want them trading their coins on my exchange. Like, oh, you want to trade the base coins? Okay, come trade them on Gemini. They're going to have to do it now. I've been saying it for a year. I've been saying they should do it. Now I think they want to do it. I think they want to do it. I mean, why wouldn't Coinbase want one-click Web3? Can you imagine that? Coinbase rolls out one-click Web3 in the middle of a rally, and we're going to say that, oh, you know, I don't like the market, or, oh, it's down, or, you know, oh, it goes up 2 days in a row and then falls apart. People, you got to get outside the system. And you can't even say the big players are coming anymore. Remember all that? The institutions are coming. The institutions are coming. You know, they're coming. Here comes the Bitcoin ETF. Dude, they're here. They're just lurking. There's two kinds of institutions right now. There's institutions that can get on board with this, that can get long and strong, or somehow take advantage of the tokenized assets or the new forms of money, or get involved in the gaming, make alliances. There's one kind of company, and everyone else is sitting around waiting to get disrupted. And it's the exact same thing with AI, right? Everybody makes such a fuss about what's going on in the labor market as a result of AI. You know, what's going on in the job market could be a function of atrocious government policy. But AI is obviously a disruptive force. I mean, OpenAI is like, what, $300 million with Oracle today for computing power? This is going to disrupt everything. Crypto is also going to disrupt everything. Yet that has not been traded or priced in. Again, two kinds of companies, two kinds of investors, two kinds of people. I guarantee you, right? If I could go to a legacy seminar and say, yeah, hey, I'm in crypto, everyone's going to be like, whoosh. Because everyone wants it. Everyone looking, nobody putting. Everybody's bullish. Everybody wants the cycle. Everybody is, you know, some people are like gig along and suffering. I get it. But there's also a huge, like, people who are not watching the show. There's a huge number of normies who are not long. They're interested. They're looking at it in the store window, but they're not long. They're not long. Nikki says DOGE ETF tomorrow. Somewhat cringe there. Antonio Alvarez, what's up? Right? Buffa Fruniti, welcome. My brother, how are you? I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay. D is here. Kevin is here. Yeah, we got to get Tao up for Big Rich. I actually have it kept up on here on DeMark. Shame on me for not doing it. Okay, so when you have Tao, right? I'm watching this like a hawk for Big Rich, one of our best customers, right? Notice how on the 4-hour chart, you get the 9 top, you get the initial part of a trend. Then you're supposed to get a correction. They give you a double dip. They fill this gap. Probably not a gap, but, you know, they fill part of the rally, and then it just goes the other way. You really have to start asking yourself about AI and crypto, particularly with something like Tao sitting here on support. You got to start asking yourself what happens if this materially takes off. What happens when the Fed starts pushing money into the system? I think the Fed is going to have to push money into the system to save the institution itself. In other words, do they want to be the guys at the helm when that whole ship sinks? Because if there is a positive to today's culture war event, it's that if you get in front of the orange man now, with America the Beautiful playing and the flag at half-mast. You know, you get in the way of this guy, particularly since he's been kind of on the ropes. Not a good idea. That can bring the American-made cryptos back. That can ignite the entire market. Okay. That is the market update for today. Patreon Platinum is loaded. Today's podcast was loaded. There's 3 videos in the member section. I know most people who are still listening are probably in the member section, but in the event that you're not, I can just at least show you what's there. You know, we have Tobie Ward doing her Superwoman psychic thing. We have the buy list, the sell list, the 10x altcoins for a repeat of 2017, top altcoins for September. We haven't really done anything in the last 2 weeks except make videos and content. Like Patreon's like old-fashioned New Jersey. You know, they run over the little hose at the gas station, ding, ding, fill it up unleaded. Fill it up. Fill it up. Get the bags packed, okay? And just in case you don't have enough distractions, here's Elon Musk. If they won't leave us in peace, then our choice is fight or perish, okay? Fight or perish. That's their response to what happened today. My response to what happened today is the green button. Okay, I know people are upset. This is very unfortunate. He was popular. I got it. Don't get distracted from your own personal freedom. The declaration of cryptocurrency independence starts with your behavior right now. We will see you tomorrow.